love from classical music to, speed metal.
Yeah.
I like so many kinds of music that sometimes I get stuck on, like, well, the great thing about writing songs is you get to wear a lot of caps.
Yes, I love that. I love that. And it's funny because sometimes I write the kind of music that I don't like to listen to, but I love to write. I don't listen to dance music really or
Right.
EDM, but I like writing it. It's very interesting. Or every once in a while I get to write something rock, which I love because rock is actually really melodic.
Yeah.
It
lot
doesn't
of
really
melodic.
so much exist anymore as a genre, but when I do get a chance to do it, I love it. And I love, being able to put on a lot of hats and write a lot of music, just like it's fun to listen to all kinds of music.
Well, it's like you're getting to play a role.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
The one thing that I like, someone asked me a while ago, like, would you, if so-and-so asked you to join their band and tour, would you do it? And I said no, because like, although I love the Red Hot Chili Peppers, right? If I had to play in their band every night and I started writing songs and I said, hey guys, I got this new song, and they'd be like, well, Joe, that doesn't necessarily fit the Red Hot Chili Peppers kind of MO. Like you have to kind of stick to
one thing and play it's like being a stand-up comic. I don't know how they do it. They do the same act every night. But of course, the stand-up comic, they love that and they perfect things and they try new things. With the band, they have a sound, and you might be on tour for a year and playing the same, maybe you play a few of your older ones or try out a few things, but you're right. And that's a tough life also.
It really is.
When we were 20, maybe, a couple of years ago, we might've done it.
Right. Yeah. But now, I mean, it's just so much fun, I think, it's like, trying on different outfits, to me. I mean, that's,
I love it. And I know what I don't do. But I certain styles that I just not going to be the person they're going to call. And that's okay too. But there's a lot of things that I do love doing.
Yeah.
Things.
Now, Lynn, when you first, do you write every day, even if it's just personally? Or
no, I don't. I never have been an everyday kind of a writer. And I think that there were times in the beginning where I always did, like, it's always usually been a Monday through Friday. It's funny, even though it's songwriting. I mean, sometimes there's had these sessions and I'd say there's been every once in a while, there's a Sunday, if there's an artist in town or something. That's been, of course, I'm talking pre and post pandemic.
Right.
But I have always been more of like, I think I used to always do 5 days a week and feel every day. Now I like to do maybe 3 songwriting sessions a week that are like writing a new song. And then I might work on, if somebody sent me something for lyrics, because sometimes I like to do that later at night. I'm a bit of a night owl. I think you are too.
Yeah.
I've never been a morning person. So sometimes we'll have dinner and then it'll be like 8:39 and I'll just go into my office for an hour and just work on lyrics. But I would say, and especially during the pandemic, it's like 2 to 4 times a week to really have a session and go and write a song. And then, and it depends, like when I'm working on the musical, it's a little different. So it varies. And if it's some really, really good opportunities, I might do 5 days sometimes in a week.
Sure. Yeah.
It becomes a little too much now, I think, after, 25 years and at least 1,000 songs, at least. I mean, more than 1,000 songs.
I know. I was just looking at your catalog a minute ago. I was just astounded. Like, I'm like,
try to think of the ones that never got recorded. I mean, if I used to write most days, I probably wrote, 300 songs a year, at least 200 songs a year times 20 years is a lot of songs. That's 4,000 songs. Now there's not that many, but there's a lot of songs, a lot. And some I listen to it and I'm like, oh my God. And I Kill Your Babies, I thought I just have to take this off. I've created this B list and C list. So I can't bear to just delete them. So I'll just put them on the C list because you never know. They're kind of thing where they want something that's just, I don't know what.
Well, it's like Jimmy's used auto parts of lyrics. Like, you never know, like that line, that last tag of that line that you thought was a throwaway.
You're right.
Could be the savior to a hook.
You're right. Or maybe the title was good, but nothing else was good. And I'll put it on my list of titles or things like that. But yeah, yeah.
Now, when you write melodies, are you going from music first, or are you just doing melody a cappella in your mind? Or how do you do
Well,
that?
most of the time, the way that I write is I'm in the room, or whether it's Zoom or in person.
Yeah,
Usually there's always a producer or at least a musician. If it's for something more, depending if it's a country song or something, there might just be somebody on guitar. Usually in pop music, there's a producer. And then there'll
yeah.
be, I can sing, but I'm not like a great singer
Oh, you have a great voice.
I think I have a good voice, but not for what's going to sell a pop demo or a mainstream sort of demo. My way. So there'll be either another, what we call top liner being a melody and lyric person. That's what we're
Right.
called.
Yeah.
Some people say it should be called songwriters, but so it'll be, so sometimes it's a production team. So that's why sometimes it's two guys that are doing the track and then myself. And then there's either an artist, then we're writing for the artist, or there'll be somebody who's really a great singer who can sell a song. And for me, it almost always comes from the chord progression or the music. I very rarely have something planned. I'm not that I'm like I guess, by the seat of your pants kind of writer. They start playing something and I start hearing something and I'll start singing melodies. Somebody else might start singing melodies and lyrics will start coming. Sometimes I write all the lyrics. Sometimes they do it. Sometimes I do all the melodies. Sometimes they do all the melody. It just really, really depends. But every once in a while, especially if it's for a brief, meaning like there's a song that they need something that's specifically like we need this kind of song about this or something. I will sometimes, especially when I'm walking around, like outside walking, I'll hear a melody and I'll sing something a cappella that I'll bring and say, I got this idea. That's been happening with the musical. We're all just, here's something like, and I'll put it down and then we'll workshop it. I mean, I'll send it and then we might change a lot of things about it. And one of the first, it wasn't a hit, it was a big song. It was a song called Cinderella. It was 2003, was a big song that I had that was like,
I remember, yeah.
Yeah, it was, and that was, it's interesting. It's the only, I wrote that song a cappella, the whole thing. And then I got with the producer that I was working at the time who found the chords and I'd be like, nope, it's not that one. It's that one. It's that one. And then he made the track. But that's the only time that's ever happened. It was really funny. Just with the whole thing in the car. And that
Wow.
a little bit
Yeah,
of
it's weird how some songs will just come to you like
Yeah.
almost like a radio frequency, like
Yeah. Yes, I absolutely believe sometimes you have to work at it and it's a struggle. And sometimes just the whole song just comes. It just comes.
yeah, yeah, it's
And
like a big hiccup or something, you
yeah,
know,
I
like
believe that it comes from somewhere. I don't know where.
it's almost like, yeah, I said this one time before. It's like it's almost like you didn't write it, you just uncovered it and it was
Yeah,
already
I really
there.
believe that. I mean, I've other famous songwriters have said that. And again, there are some, I'm not an overthinker. I'm not best matched with people who will be like every syllable has to match this and I have done that. And sometimes the songs that frustrate me that they keep wanting to go back and back. And I hate sometimes those that become hits. But usually for me, it's quick and it pours out and it's from the heart. And yes, and you fine tune it and all
Of
that.
course.
Usually the way it happens for me most of the time. But again,
Yeah.
I think it's really important to say that, because I'll teach, so every year I'll do something called the Johnny Mercer Project, which is with young songwriters. And, they always wonder, am I doing it right? Some of them come in with a melody. Some of them come in with, have a title and a lyric. Some of them, take days to work on a lyric. Some of them do it in 10 minutes. There's no right or wrong way.
Right.
Whatever is comfortable for the person, for the creator. And I mean, that's how you find people that you work best with, because hopefully those people you find people who kind of work similarly to you. But I just think that there are no rules for creativity. It's like somebody write a novel and it takes them 10 years. Somebody else, Joyce Carol Oates might write 3 a year. I mean, there's no good or bad in it. It's just what works for that person.
Well, what about when you have like a deadline and you have to have this song done? You get that a lot where you have to like, all right, the song's got to be done by such and such a time because
not so much, because unless I'm doing for a project, which I've done sometimes where we're, doing like they want a theme song or they want a song for a movie. I haven't done a lot of that. I love doing that, and I'd love to do more. It's a whole different thing. Then they might be like, okay, we need, usually there's multiple people that are going to try the spot or something. There might be 10 people. They'll say, you need it by Thursday, and then we'll give you notes, and then we need it by such and such a time. But usually, and then sometimes you'll be with an artist where they're like, okay, we're closing the record and they're going to record next week. So we need these songs in.
Right.
But usually it's like we're writing a song either with the artist where they're collecting a bunch of songs and then they're going to decide which ones they're going to use, or we're just writing songs that we want to pitch to artists and it's kind of on our own timeline. But I don't mind deadlines. I don't mind them at all.
Yeah.
And I like to finish things. And sometimes I even think too much. I just want to finish it. And then sometimes I'm like, okay, nobody's responding. I think it wasn't very good. Let it go. That's something I'm learning more and more lately. It wasn't great. Let it go. It's okay.
Right.
And like maybe a little piece of it can be used for something else, or there's a great line in there that I can put on my lyric ideas or on ideas that I might come around to.
Or sometimes I think it's sometimes even like a lot of times, like even some of the clients at the studio, they'll go out for an audition for an acting job and they don't get it. And I say, and they get so hurt and so depressed. And I say, listen, Robert De Niro is not going to get the part of Superman.
Right.
No matter how big of a box office draw he is, he's not going to get the role of Superman unless they computer generate his entire face.
Right. Unless it's old Superman. Let's say what happened with Superman, No, I think in any creative field, it's a numbers game. It just always is. And if you're an actor with the same thing, you might audition for 10 things and get 1 or 2. And it's the same with a songwriter. For every 10 songs you write, if something happens with 1, you're lucky. It's just in any creative field, unless you're somebody who's got this hot streak and everybody wants you. And that usually only lasts for so long anyways, no matter who you are, no matter what you're in.
Well, like I started a songwriting group with a couple people. Erin Willett from The Voice. She was one of the finalists on The Voice, and me and her wrote a bunch of songs together, and she had an album out. I played guitar for her at all these events in LA that she did. And then we started a little songwriting production group. It was a girl named Esther and Aaron and Eric, my partner, Eric Russler. So we called it the 3 E's and Me. So that was the name of our little production crew. But my point was that, we wrote a whole bunch of songs and we just were putting them down. And, every time we recorded them, I mixed them, I produced them, mixed them, played the instruments and all that, and then put them aside. And then one day, we were working with Vince Cirincione, who is Halle Berry's manager, who was managing me and Eric. He was getting some of our songs placed to some artists that were looking for music and songs. So we got Aaron on board, and then Eric was getting real excited, and I said, look, don't get your hopes up with anything. Just right. We had 2 meetings with Robin Thicke's manager. He loved 2 of our songs, and we had 2 follow-up meetings with him and sat down and talked and the whole thing. And then we never heard from him ever again.
Oh yeah. I mean, that happens constantly. I mean, unfortunately, I'll meet with A&Rs. I want to take all of them. I'm sending one to so-and-so. It's going to be a single, and then they won't even take your call. So that's the name of the game. And now it just doesn't get to me anymore. But of course, when you're starting out and so many artists, and I think it applies also to actors, and we're sensitive people, we're creative people, we're sensitive. And it's hard to constantly have rejection, but
but you got to love what you're doing, or else.
Exactly. That's why I said, oh, gee, I had a great experience writing this song. I had a great day with these people. It felt creative. It flowed. And then the rest of it is out of your hands.
Right. You can't.
You let it go and you hope that something happens with it, or you do an audition. Same thing. I used to try to act and all that, and I would audition for things, and your very best. And then you got to just say, go, do something you love, go have a great cup of coffee somewhere, or whatever you like to do.
Yeah. It's So over the years, I mean, with all the songs that you've written, is there anyone that you would love to hear do one of your songs that you've already recorded? Like, I know you want to write with Ed Sheeran and like Taylor Swift and people like that, but like, is there one? I know, and you also said John Legend, of course. But like, sometimes I'll write a song and I'll say, God, I would love to hear so and so sing this song. Like, this is perfect for.
Oh, I
So
mean, that
and so.
happens to me all the time. I'll have a song. I mean, I've had songs with Demi Lovato, but I might have a song being like, oh, this is perfect for Demi, or this is perfect for a John Legend, or this is perfect for, 5 Seconds of Summer or Harry Styles or whatever. But it's become even more so. And this is okay. This is just the way that it is. People have their little groups. I mean, like a Harry Styles. Now, I worked with Harry when he was part of One Direction. I worked with One
Yeah.
Direction starting, and that was amazing. But they have their team. So it's hard to break in when you're not part of that team. That doesn't mean that you never will. Sometimes they'll be an artist and they'll be like, okay, I want to try some new people, or I've heard about Lindy over the years. I want to try Lindy. Or sometimes it's on my end having a good representative who can, break down doors and be like, you got to try, this person. I think sometimes being around for so long is a good and bad thing, because sometimes, there's always, as they say, the shiny new penny who's the flavor of the week, and they might have long careers too, but
Right.
You're competing with a lot of things, and that's why I've come to a point in my life where I just take it all in stride. I mean, I get disappointed when things aren't happening, or I feel like I have a bunch of great songs and nothing's happened, and it ebbs and flows, I think, for everybody, where you've got some amazing years where you just feel like, wow, all these things are happening and you're in these great rooms, and then you have years or periods of time where it's just kind of like not happening, and that's okay.
Yeah.
We're
Have
not.
you ever gotten like where you're in a session and you're like, I'm not hearing anything?
Yeah, it's rare, and I'm even superstitious to talk about it, but I've had days where I was just off, or it was just a bad match, or I've had days where I think the person made me feel less than. And then for me, since I'm just a flow kind of a writer, if the person was like, no, that's not good, or like, I don't like that, or that sounds old or something, or whatever they said, all of a sudden I can't do what I do, and it shuts me down.
Yeah,
So
that's tough.
I think I always have ideas, sometimes too many. Like sometimes I have to think, shut up, because I'm not giving the other people a chance. And that's something that I always have to tell myself, to just like step back, like, because I'm always, what about this? What about this? What about this? And I can see them going,
Right.
So I just have to like, and just let them get out their ideas. And I think that's a big part of collaboration. Like, check your ego at the door. I think I always say ego is the death of creativity, and you can't, and sometimes you're just inspired and you're like, okay, I just want to show you this. And then you have to give them a chance to digest it, see if they're feeling it, and give them a chance to think. Cause not everybody, I'm very quick. I'm a quick thinker, and some people aren't as quick and they need time. So I've tried to learn how to just like stop and give somebody some space. And I think I've even been in the room with people that just shut me down or shot me down. And then that's when you feel like or just days that I just was just off. Like I was just, for me, if I'm struggling with the song, it's usually not a good sign. Sometimes I do, but then there's situations with recently, which was something I was writing lyrics to, and I listened to it 3 or 4 times and I just didn't hear anything. And then I came back again and I just heard it. So sometimes it takes more than a few tries, but usually I hear it right away, or I will just say I'm not hearing anything, or let's go to another idea,
Right.
Just
I gotta ask you this. I have this thing when I write, it's called the first verse curse. That's what I've called it. Because when I come up with a song idea, I'll come up with a really good verse, pre-chorus and chorus, and then verse 2, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, sometimes it's funny. Sometimes you can get stuck on the most random things. Like you can get stuck on a verse 2. You can get stuck on, you have everything, but then you realize that the title's not good. You can get stuck on a bridge. I mean,
now see, bridges, I always hear bridges really quick.
Yeah, and I love bridges too. I mean, a lot of songs don't even have bridges. I think they're starting to come back a little bit, but yeah, I mean, you want to say it in a different way, and you want to, sometimes you can get quite stuck. That happened to me just recently where I said, let's come back fresh because we were struggling too much in the second verse. Nothing felt right. So then sometimes that's when I think it's good to step away and come back.
Yeah.
I don't do that often, but in this situation, I said, let's come back. And we did. And then we were more fresh and we were able to see it, you know, more objectively, and we had some new ideas.
I think it's always better when you're having a little bit of a hard time with anything to just say, let's take 5. Let's go get a cup of coffee.
Absolutely. And I
maybe
think
take a walk.
Walking has always freed my mind. Like if I am doing something on my own, which sometimes, like in Nashville, for instance, I don't do a ton of Nashville stuff, but I have. And that's a genre where they like you to come in with an idea. Like in pop music, they don't so much expect it. You kind of create it. But so I would just go walking or taking walks and I just get ideas. Sometimes, some days they just come to me, these ideas, but sitting in my office, like staring, that's never been good for me. And if I get stuck, usually it's good, like either with the group, let's all go out, like you said, get a coffee, go sit outside, take a walk. And then sometimes because then you're thinking too hard and it frees, something changes. And
yeah,
sometimes
you're like in this feedback loop that you're
trying too hard.
Yeah. And you know, and sometimes things do come randomly out of like, you know.
Yeah, sometimes it'll be, I give up and then I'll be, you know, it'll be that early in the morning, late at night. I'll always have something. Like now it's usually my phone, but sometimes a pad of paper or something to record. Like I'll have a little dictaphone or something, because sometimes it comes because you're not thinking. You're like half asleep, but you're half awake. And then suddenly it comes. That happens
Now,
sometimes too.